Hey everyone, Wayne Fox here. Been a weird year, huh? I'm still living the life of a recluse, trying to be really careful. I'm, getting close to 70, and so I'm kind of in that pretty high risk category, much higher risk than I'm comfortable with. Hopefully, there's a vaccine that'll actually work in the near future. In the meantime, I've been kind of working on my digitized memory project, and I'm in this phase now where I'm trying to do the motion part, the video part. Thought I would do a quick update on part of that. There's actually three different segments because I've got three different mediums I have to deal with. And this one is about how to get your analog videos onto your computer. And if you just want to skip my wildly entertaining introduction, jump to that timestamp and we'll just show the device that I'm going to use and how I do it. But I thought I'd give a little background and also talk a little bit about my philosophy on what my end goal, which has changed in the last 3 or 4 months as I've kind of been thinking about this, and especially different than 10 years ago when I first started it. I'm old enough to have been through the full gamut of recording of motion, 8mm movie film, no sound. Still got my 8mm movie projector here. 3 minutes for, I think, $5 for the film, and $3 to $5 for the film, and $8 to $10 to process it. Pretty expensive, and $78 when we bought this in 1978. We really couldn't afford it, but we really wanted to make sure we had a way to capture memories. It felt important to us. I've got about 40 of these 3-minute videos in here, and I've actually got this step done. It'll be another video on the device I used. I got what I feel is surprisingly good quality video out for these old movie film. Colors are still not too bad. They're not faded too bad. And much better than, projecting it onto a screen and trying to shoot it with my smartphone or something like that, which definitely will work. But anyway, I'll have another video on that. Next came our first camcorder, and it was a box about 2/3 the size of this unit here, and hung on your shoulder, had a big old heavy battery on it, and then you had a camera attached to it with a wire cable about that size. It's not this one. And, basically made it portable. I mean, if you wanted to, you could go to the zoo. Now, obviously, hauling something like that around was pretty heavy. So for a lot of times it was, where can you set the box that you didn't have to walk around? And it used a normal VHS tape, 120-minute long. I've got 3 of these that's full, so about 6 hours of video. And it, at the time, it was really cool to be able to shoot it. I mean, compared to shooting 3 minutes, it had sound. And so it was really cool, but it was still not very convenient. And then in '85, we bought our first self-contained camcorder, and this one used, I don't have that one anymore, but this one used these little, little small VHS tapes. Now this only held 20 minutes of video, but now you had a camera that was small enough that you could actually go someplace with it, only weighed a couple of pounds. So you could go to the zoo or go on vacation with it. And the cool part is, because it was VHS, they made an adapter, and you could just drop this little 20-minute tape into this adapter. Now it would fit in any normal VHS deck, which almost everybody had. One of the challenges with this movie is convenience of watching it, and especially nowadays. But even then, you really didn't go and watch it. And the other challenge is, you have a 2-hour video and you wanted to watch a particular event. Well, there's like 20 events on this. I don't know if you can see all the different writing on there, but if you wanted to watch Derek's 3rd birthday, well, you had to fast forward and try to find it. And so really, just sitting down and watching 2 hours of video is not something you tended to do. At least with movie film, you had just little 3-minute clips. You go, oh, let's watch this one, and you put it on. But despite the fact that we recorded all this video, it really it's never been watched. I've never watched most of it. And that's one of the reasons for the project. Anyway, shortly, I think around the early 90s, I bought an 8mm camcorder, and they now suddenly became quite small. I don't know if this was the original one I had, but at the time we felt, man, this is really little. And it used the tape that was this size, so much smaller, but you could still record 2 hours of video on this. And one of the challenges with these early camcorders is it was so cheap to record a lot of video that you tended to over-record. And I'll talk about that here in a minute when we get to my current project philosophy. Anyway, this box here has got about, well, I won't open it up. So this box is the 20-minute long videotapes, about 40 of those. This has the 8mm ones, and I've got about 30 of those. So 60 hours of video here, I don't know, 10 or so hours of video here. Obviously, I've got, I don't know, maybe an hour of movies. And then in the late 80s, or late 90s, early 2000, they came out with the DV format, which now used a little tape this size, which still recorded 60 minutes of video on that, recorded stereo audio, and was a digital format, so it was a little easier to get it off. And that's what this camera is. This is the, most of the digital video cameras were very, very small, half the size of this. But this is the high-end one. This is basically, at the time, I think I paid like $3,000 for it because it's got a really high-end lens, stereo microphones, and it's designed for, you know, kind of semi-professional production. So, and I've got, this whole box is full of those, and there's at least 15, 20 of those in there probably. So we're probably talking 100-hour video. Now, before I get into how I'm going to actually get the analog part on, let's talk about my process and what I've decided to do if you're interested, because I think it's changed. I originally started doing this back in 10, 15 years, a long time ago. I used a FireWire converter, and it would do little 2 GB segments. So each 20-minute video, each 20-minute segment of these small videos ended up to be like 3 2 GB files. And of course, back then, a gigabyte was, you know, we're talking a lot of, you know, I mean, a good hard drive only had, you know, 250 gigabytes on it. And so it was a little hard, but I started that. And my original plan was just to take these and put them on and give them to my kids on CDs. Well, now, you know, DVDs. Well, DVD players have pretty well died. And so now this is what I've decided to do. The first step is just to get all of the raw footage onto my computer. I've got the movies. I've got all the 20-minute ones on there. I'm working on getting these on there, and then I'll work on getting these on there. And I'm basically going to set this up in another room, and I'm just going to, one tape at a time. One disadvantage is if you got a 2-hour tape that you want to digitize, you got to play the whole tape. It'll take 2 hours. So I got 100 hours of video to play, and fortunately I'm down to a lot less than that. And that gets all the raw footage on. In the meantime, I'm also taking each individual tape. And as I mentioned, these are individual events, and I'm actually taking each event and making its own video segment. I'm going to name it with the year and the month and a description of the event. My wife was really good about keeping the labels organized so I can figure most of it out. And then I'm going to organize those into folders by year. And I have a Synology server, which has a video cloud service. And I can put those into this server, and my kids using an app on their smartphone or their Apple TV actually can access those and watch them from wherever they are. So that'll be phase 2. I think it'll be at that point pretty useful. But now I've thought about it, I'm going, I got to go one more step if I have time. And I'm going to try it. It'll probably take me 5 years to get it done. But, because I'm not going to binge it over a month period of time. I'm going to do a little here, a little there. But if you think about what happened when the iPhone was invented and shortly after the Android phones, and both began to realize the camera was one of the most valuable parts of either of those devices. I mean, if you think about what Apple's done, the camera's been the focus of their phones now are good enough to shoot incredible video. Well, think about that around 2008, shortly after that, as these phones became more popular, suddenly people changed the way they did video. They no longer took a camcorder, they just used their smartphone. I can still remember going to an elementary school program with my big old, really high-end JVC camcorder here, and I'm seeing, I'm recording all this. Now, there's an advantage. I got this really awesome zoom lens, and I can get semi-professional quality, considering a 1080p at the time, which was no longer that great anymore. But most of the audience is just holding their smartphone up, and they're recording it, and they're doing digital zoom. And to be honest, seeing that on a TV looks fine. But the other thing that changed was they quit recording long sessions. In my case, when we did Easter eggs, we would put the camera on a tripod and we would record, we had a 2-hour tape So we'd record 20 minutes. If we did the birthday party, we'd record the whole birthday party. We didn't record. Nowadays you go video of them opening one present, video of them opening another present. You don't even do a video of them opening all the presents. It's only this one's from Grandpa. Let's get a video of it because we know they're going to really like it. At least Grandpa hopes they do. So most of these events are broken into little short segments. A video of them singing happy birthday and blowing out the candles. We don't do it, and the nice part about that is it's easy to watch. My son-in-law has taken all these little video clips they've taken over the years since the smartphone came out, and they put them onto YouTube, and I can go in there and I can see all these little clips and it describes them. Some of them are just funnier than all get out and really cute, and that's what I think I want to try to do. I want to take each event. I got a 20-minute event. I got to try to get that down to 2 minutes. Give me the good parts. Now, the way I'm going to organize it, they'll see the abbreviated version. If they want to watch the whole version, it'll be easy to go and find the same segment and watch it if they want to. But I think that's my goal. And so wish me luck, because it might take a decade, and hopefully I've got that many years left to get it done. Anyway, so now we need to talk about how we're going to get these analog tapes onto our computer. And we need three things. Obviously, we need a computer with decent storage, and we need a way to play the tape. We'd either have to have the camera itself. Most of the cameras, a lot of time, like this is an 8mm one. Most people didn't have an 8mm deck, so they had to use the camera to play it. And that's one reason people didn't watch a lot of their videos. So we've either got to have the camera, or we've got to have a deck, and then we've got to have a device that converts it. And the one I've been using is this one from Elgato. I'll put a link down below where I bought it on Amazon. It's only like around 80 bucks. Let me get it out of this mess over here. And we don't need that cable. And it's a USB device, so it just connects into any USB port. It's not even USB 3. And it converts that into both stereo audio. This is what's called composite video, and this is what's called S-video. Now, S-video, everybody called it super video, but it wasn't. All it does is change the way the signal's transmitted, and so it's maybe slightly better quality. If you've got S-video, I would encourage you to use it, but it's not like you've got to, because you'll have to buy another cable to be able to use it. It's not like it's going to be so much different that it's worth spending a lot of money on. And you've got to have a way to connect that, and most camcorders from that era, they've got a little port. So you can hear I've got my audio, my composite, and my S-video port here. So I've just got to have a way to connect those. And I believe it comes with this cable. This might be one of my own, but I'm pretty sure it comes with this cable, which is the composite and audio. And so basically I'm just going to connect these to this. And let's see, get like that. Sorry about this. And then I'll connect the other end up to my camera. Or in my case, I've got tape decks, which also have all the ports on them. I basically put the video in, and then I go to my computer and start the software. Now, the nice part about this Elgato device is the software is really straightforward, really simple to use, and it's kind of a no hands-on thing. I mean, what I've got to do, if this is a 2-hour video that I've got to record, it takes 2 hours. You got to play it. You just got to play it. And so what I've got in another room, I've got another Mac. And the nice part about the Elgato software is you can get it all set up, and then you can say, how long do you want it to record? And then it will stop digitizing. So if you've got a 120-minute tape, you can say, yeah, do 120 minutes. So you don't even have to be there. You can just start it, go away, and then when you get a minute, a few hours later, go put another one on. So the cool part is if you've got another computer sitting somewhere that just, doesn't get used a lot, or at night before you go to bed, you actually throw one on and you go to bed. It's really good software. So what we need to do now, let me jump over to my computer, and actually I'll move one of these decks. We'll actually set up the process of recording one of the videos. And I think for the money, it's a really good device. Now, I think there are devices that maybe claim they give better quality, but understand, this is not high quality video here. I think 8mm might have been 480 interlaced. I think the original VHS cameras I had were only 320. We're talking video from the quality from the 80s here, and you can record it as high definition, but you don't get any high definition. There's no way to manufacture data that's not there. So I think the quality from this is just plenty good enough. Looks great on my 60-inch TV. My kids were watching it at their house the other day. I put it on one. I think it's really good. Anyway, let's get that set up, and I'll show you how the software works, and then we'll be done with this one. Okay, so I have my 8mm video deck attached to my Elgato Video Capture here. I'm going to use the S-Video connection since I have a cable and it's available. And I'm going to digitize this particular tape here. This says Derek Graduation in Hawaii. So I know this was in around May of 1997. So I'll use that when I make the title. First thing I'm going to do is put the tape in the deck. And I always rewind it. I find most of these tapes are not at the beginning. So we'll hit the rewind button. While that's rewinding, let's go over here and go ahead and launch the software. And the first thing we have in the software, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the preferences. Here you can decide where you want to save the video to. And you can also have these directly sent to, I think, a couple of services like Dropbox. We'll get to that at the end. Anyway, I've got this set to go to a special folder on one of my hard drives. And you can force it into one of two formats. And automatic, I'm not sure what that means. Here, if you are not using, if you want to force it into a specific TV standard, typically automatic is what you want to do. Okay, the video here allows you to control some of the color and contrast. If you know the tape has got a problem, you can actually tweak it. And so you record it with improvements. And here you can actually adjust the recording volume. So if the volume of the tape is too quiet or too loud. Now, most of the time, that's something you can do in post-processing anyway. So those are the preferences. We need to give it a movie. In my case, I'm always going to start with the year, 1997, and then the month, 05, followed by a brief description, Derek, graduation, Hawaii, vacation. All right. Now here you can choose one of the default recording links, or you can go to custom and you can actually enter one. What I found is that the decks aren't super accurate. So you might have a deck that plays slightly slower than, so your video will actually take 123 minutes to play. And so to do that, I always over record. Now the one thing that is nice, and we'll get to that at the end of it, the software allows you, once you finish the recording, to trim the beginning and the ends. So this tape might have 60 minutes of blank space on it. It could be after the vacation, we just put a new tape in. And a lot of the tapes, there's considerable blank at the end. And at the end of this process, you have the ability to trim to get rid of all of that so your video isn't any longer than it needs to be. So here we're going to hit continue. And here we should be able to see the video on the screen. And what I always do is I start playing it. We're not recording yet. And obviously, let me get rid of that sound. Looks like it's working really well. You can change the format, but notice it doesn't crop the top and the bottom. Instead, it squishes. So only use the 16:9 if you're recording 16:9 content from maybe a DV camera that came along a little later. As I said, I'm using the S-Video input. So looks good. Hit continue. Here I can verify that the audio is about the level it should be. Typically, I think you want it bouncing around about 2/3 of the way up is pretty good. You definitely don't want it pounding against the top and clipping. All right, so now we hit continue. And here we can override that time setting if we want. We can tell it while you're recording, please mute the sound. And now I'm ready to start. So I'm going to stop the tape. And we'll rewind it back to the beginning. Now what I always do is I start recording and then I start playing. All right, now we're good to go. Now it's kind of cool. This video camera put the date. So I can see this was actually 1998, March 30th. And some of my cameras did that, had that feature, and it helps quite a bit to figure things out. So this is actually my daughter's birthday. This would have been her, let's see, 15th birthday. And so this must have been
And the graduation occurred, I assume, I think he must have graduated in 98. I thought it was in 97. So anyway, that'll help me fix. I'll just change the title when I'm done. So anyway, we'll let this record. It's going to take a couple hours. And when it's all done, I'll get back on and show you the finishing processes and we'll wrap this up. Okay, so I had it next to me. Now, one advantage of doing it and keeping your eye on it is if your tape, you get to the end of it and there's still 20 minutes to go on the tape, you can stop recording anytime. Once you hit the record button, you can stop recording. My case, it didn't stop on its own because I happened to see, and there was only a couple minutes left, it would have stopped anyway. But it did go over the 120 minutes, so it just shows my tape player is slightly slower than the speed it's supposed to be. And I think it ended up to be 121 minutes long. I think I can scroll. 2 hours, almost 2 hours and 3 minutes, and it was still playing, and that's when it stopped. So my tape player is about 1% slower than the regulation speed. So here anyway, we can look and see the tape, and we can scroll through at any point. We can actually quickly scan it. So I can go through here and see the different events on this tape that I didn't know about. Daughter's birthday, son's birthday. This is some kind of a recognition thing, daughter singing in the chorus. Just go along, and it's all the way till here before we get to the graduation. And that's actually a golf recognition thing. And finally, the graduation. What's interesting with me, and I was talking about the challenge of making it interesting. If you look at this graduation here, it goes from here all the way to there. So that's like 40 minutes. And it's like I recorded all these kids getting their diplomas, and some of them I don't even remember who they were. Anyway, there's the Hawaii vacation. What we can do, we can get to the end now, and we can find when the tape ends. And if we find out that the tape ended, for example, now here in my case, it ended right there, which is, I was there, so I caught it in time. But let's say that my tape ended here. All we need to do is move these pointers, and wherever we move these two pointers to, this will trim the front and the end of the tape. So when we save it, we get just the part that we want. And we don't have to get the whole 2 hours if only 1 hour of it's good video. And all we do is once we set those trim points, in this case, I'm not going to trim any of it because I just have a few seconds of video. It's not super accurate. So like if you've got 30 seconds on a 2-hour video, you're probably not going to be able to trim that off. It's better to do that later. And all I do is hit continue. Now it tells me that my movie was saved successfully. So the movie is already saved. You'll notice I gave it a different name because I had to start over. I got the year and month right. And I can also play it with QuickTime Player. I can add it to iTunes on the Mac, or I can upload it to YouTube. Now, I'm assuming that Elgato has Windows software as well, and there are probably a couple of options. It's interesting. You can actually upload this straight to your YouTube channel. So if you have a private YouTube channel to put all your little video clips on, it's not a bad way to go because just like I said, my son-in-law, really awesome. He's got 100 or 200 video clips that he's put up there, and they're fun to go through. Anyway, then at that point, we can say, let's do another one, hit again, and then we start at the beginning, or we can just quit. So maybe you'll, let me just show you a little bit about the quality. Now understand this is only captured in 640 by 480, and this is a 1080p video, so it's scaling up. Going to be a little fuzzy, but if you're watching on a phone, it'll probably look really good. And like I said, I play this on my 60-inch TV, which I'm, 15, 18 feet away from. Looks terrific. It's fun to watch. Yeah, it's not ultra crisp like a 4K video, but it's not what it's about here. So let me just show you a few clips now. So here's a little short clip of part of a sequence of my daughter singing in the choir. I believe this was her sophomore year. And then here we have my son in his graduation ceremony in May, walking up. And then finally I did a little clip. This is us going on a helicopter ride. Not sure what that distortion was, something that I did. But here's a couple of my kids walking out to get on this helicopter. We went to Kauai shortly after they graduated. Well, I think that's a wrap. Hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment. I'm not great at answering the comments. For some reason, YouTube doesn't send me emails consistently when people put a comment. I try to keep my eye on them, but I'll try to watch for those. If you like what I'm doing, I've got a lot of stuff like of this coming up. I've also got, if you're a Lightroom person, a lot of videos about that. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the little reminder bell down there in the corner. And until next time, thanks for watching. Hey, see ya.